Good evening. How we doing? This is Bob Combs. I'm coming from Kampala, Uganda. Good evening again. The music that you hear in the background is Billy Joel. Um, I love him. He helps me a lot. And also, he is politically aware. As a matter of fact, right wingers would probably say that Billy Joel is woke, which is fine with me because I happen to be woke. How did he get woke? I'll tell you how he got woke. He was just a great musician. And then he saw what happened. When was that? 2017? Right after Trump got elected. And they had that big right wing march in Charlottesville, Virginia. You had the Ku Klux Klan out there. You had MAGA, Q, all the right wing nut jobs. And unfortunately, one young lady was killed um, because one of the right wing nuts ran her over. Okay. And when Trump was asked about this, he said that, oh, well, you had good people on both sides. Now, I'm trying to figure that one out. And apparently, so was Billy Joel. Because this business about you had good people on both sides. We're talking about one side being progressive, being open to diversity and what have you, and the American way and la di da. And on the other side, you had people who were basically following the tenets of Adolf Hitler. And what you had was an American president stating that there was no great difference between the people that believed in gas ovens for Jews and on the other side, people who were saying, no, we don't kill people who are different from us. And our American president said, oh, well, there's really no difference. There are good people on both sides. Billy Joel heard that and he said, no, somebody has to speak out. So that's why Billy Joel will always be my patron saint of rock musicians. I mean, plus the fact apparently he seems like a New York boy, so I'm a New York boy, so boom, there you have it. And I play his music every chance I get. Uh, I love Uganda. I love the people, but I am homesick. I'm homesick for the food. I'm homesick for the subways. I'm homesick for Harlem. I'm homesick for the village. And Billy Joel helps me deal with that, right? Uh, you might want to know I'm trying to do a media type thing here in Uganda, and that's why I'm here. I think it's less expensive trying to get a start here as opposed to being back in New York. And unfortunately for me, I love New York. It's my home. But right now, it's horrible. Okay, people having to live in the subways and in the shelters, uh, and a lot of these people are veterans and children, and I don't think that's right. One of the reasons now, I'm a registered Democrat, but I'm also a member of DSA, and one of the reasons why I support Mandami is because of the fact that he is trying to make some type of progressive change. Now, I don't understand how being woke and being progressive has become a bad thing. Uh, how can you be against progress? I don't understand that. How can you be against being awake? And see, that's what Trump and MAGA and the Republican Party has done to the English language. Okay, I can remember my mother yelling at me when I was a student at St. Thomas the Apostle Roman Catholic School. Hey, get your ass in bed, get woke, and get your ass in the shower, and get your clothes on, and get ready to go to school. How can that be a bad thing? My mother is waking me up, telling me to get washed, get dressed, and walk my ass to school. So why is being awake a bad thing? And see, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight. I don't have anything really prepared, to be honest about it. I'm just sitting here, shooting shooting the breeze with folks back home. And I'm trying to understand what the hell has happened to us as Americans. When is it acceptable to have a president of the United States who was a pimp? Okay. Now, those of you who are familiar with city life, right, you understand what I mean when I say pimp. We're talking about Iceberg Slim. We're talking about what is that dude's name? Dolomite. People like that. So we have gone from Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, FDR, Eisenhower, God help me, even Richard Nixon, and we have gone to Iceberg Slim and Dolomite sitting in the White House. I mean, listen, all you have to do is just read and look at what Mr. Trump was into. So how do we oh, by the way, the noise in the background, that's my lady preparing my meal. Okay, so meal for both of us, right? So forgive the noise background. This is for real here. Okay, I am not, Walter Cronkite. All right, I'm just a guy. I did my time in the service. Uh, I went to public school, and then I went to Catholic school. Most of my education was in, Catholic school. Hell, I was even the altar boy. I was even studying for the priesthood at one time. So, all you Catholics out there, you dig where I'm coming from. Uh, Beside my parents, one of my great heroes is an Irish nun. I think she was born and raised outside of Dublin, Sister Mary St. Raphael. She taught me to be proud of myself and to be proud of the fact that I was a person that was into trying to seek knowledge. Um, I did time in the Army. I did time in the Navy. I did time in the Navy Reserve. I did time in the Army Reserve. So the orange god that we have sitting in the White House now could not lecture me about patriotism. All right, Mr. Bone Spurs cannot lecture me about patriotism. And I tell you how this whole concerning forum stuff came about. One night off the coast of Libya, I thought I was going to die. The reason being because we shot down a couple of, remember Gaddafi? We shot down a couple of his planes in the afternoon. That night, he sent up an entire squadron, and we had to go to battle stations. And if any of you are familiar with war movies, especially war movies dealing with the Navy, you will understand basically what it was that night. I was on USS Nimitz, and I can tell you something. When they say that animals can smell fear in a human being, guess what? That's true. I saw fear in the eyes of men that night. But you know what? In spite of the fact that men were terrified, they did their damn job. God bless them. They did their damn jobs. And I will tell you, I was probably the most scariest person on the damn in the damn crew. But I did my job. At that time, I was what they call a yeoman, and I was a yeoman in the reactor department, the nuclear reactor department. And in the Navy, when you're at sea, you have your regular duty and you have your duty for battle stations, emergency, what have you. And I was at my battle station. So right there on the main thoroughfare beneath the hangar bay, and I saw the men as they passed me while I'm sitting, when I'm there on my at my duty station, putting on my life jacket, my gear, my sound powered phones, and I saw the men going by me. And I'll never forget it. One very wide machinist mate, chief machinist mate, coming run right past me. His eyes were like saucers because he was terrified, and I don't blame him. But he did his job. He was doing his job. So I know how it is. I know what fear is. And the reason I tell you that is because that night I thought I was going to die with a whole bunch of other people. And I swore, I made a solemn oath that if we live through this, one of these days I'm going to get a radio station or a TV show or something because I felt that people should, if we're going to give our lives for our country, we have the right to know why, what the hell is going on. It's taken some years of divorces and broken relationships and what have you, but I'm doing it. Okay. And that's what the Concerned Forum is all about, right? We're not, what is it, NBC News. We're not the Today Show or anything like that. I'm just a guy from New York, out of Harlem, out of the projects. I mean, I started in the tenements and then we moved to the projects when I was about 5. And I'm being real. Yeah, I'm college educated, but listen, I barely scrape by to get a freaking bachelor's. Okay. Most of the stuff, my courses and whatnot, I did while I was on active duty in the Navy. And that was hell, but I got that degree, right? So that made, and plus my Catholic school education. Uh, was that education superlative, superior? It depends. But you know what? One thing I would say about my Catholic school education, it was lacking in some things, but one thing it did do, it gave me a world view. And I thank them for that. Okay. And oh, by the way, if you guys hear Billy Joel in the background, sorry, I'm not turning it down because it helps me. Okay. But getting back to the point, uh, I guess you could say that's how this whole concerned forum thing came about. And I'd be honest about it, I'm living in Uganda. I've been here since like what, mid June. And I'll tell you something. Being here at what the Brits always called the Pearl of Africa, it's inland. So we're not like right by the ocean here, but it's kind of like a crossroads. I mean, you got people from all over Africa, Arabia, Europe, China. Think about that very carefully now. China, okay? Intersecting, crisscrossing, what have you, here in Uganda. I'm, right outside Kampala. Kampala. I'm kind of like in the suburbs of Kampala. And I'm going to tell you something. People, I talk to Brits, I talk to transplant Americans, I talk to Africans from Uganda, Rwanda, the Congo, South Africa, and they look upon what's happening in America nowadays, and they're saying, "Damn, what happened to your people?" It's like they have gone totally insane. And you know what? I have to agree with them. I truly do. So now you got the background of what it is I'm trying to do. I got this idea that I think that America, Africa, and the world in general will be a better place if you got people like myself who are trying to basically talk, right? To tell Africa what's happening in America and to tell Americans what's happening in Africa. So that's what I'm attempting to do, right? Now, this particular broadcast, to be honest about it, I hadn't planned to start, to do this until like Saturday. But, I woke up this morning and I'm sitting in front of the computer and I'm seeing so much BS happening in my country that I just got angry, to be honest about it. Listen, what I'm doing tonight, right now, this is just me getting a lot of shit off my chest, to be quite frank about it. Because what I see happening is so goddamn horrendous. I feel the need to speak on it. Now, if that's not professional enough for some of you folks out there, hey, screw you. I'll be quite frank about it because I think that this is something that people need to talk about. And I think that if you're going to save American democracy, this is what it's going to take. Now, don't get me wrong. I love and I appreciate MSNBC, right? I even have strong feelings about CNN. CBS has really let me down because they kowtow to a wannabe dictator, and that's not good. That's not that ain't good at all. That doesn't help the situation. You know what? I'm going to say something, and I'm a registered Democrat, and I'm also a member of DSA. Okay, and as you know, I'm a native New Yorker, right? So, in terms of what's going on back home with the mayor campaign, Mondami all the way, right? My opinion, and people might disagree with it, but yeah, he's a democratic socialist, right? And some people don't like that. But I think that the real reason for all the vitriol that Mondami is catching right now is because of what he said at the debate, right? What did he say? Well, you have what, about four or five of them other people up there. One of them was the what do you call it? The head of the speaker, or what, comparable to the Speaker of the House. You got the head person of the New York City Council, right? She was there. Cuomo was there. A few other people were there. And I forget what channel that the debate was being shown on. Maybe it doesn't make a difference. But the thing that really ticked me off about that was the person, the moderator, right? He says, "Okay, tell me which one of you folks, if you get elected to be mayor of New York City, where's the first place you're going to go?" And I'm like, "Well, wait a minute, man. You're supposed to be the moderator of a debate between 4 or 5 people who want to be mayor of the city of New York. So why would you throw out a question about where do you want, if you're elected, where do you want to go?" I don't get that. Now listen, I'll be honest about it. I ain't the brightest bulb in the chandelier. I already admit that. Okay, I scraped and clawed to get a bachelor's and an associate's degree, right? I can't get rid of the damn New York accent. All right, um, I'm not. How should I say? I'm not Oxford material, right? But to me, I'm trying to figure out why in the hell people go through all these changes. Madami, Cuomo, the Speaker of New York City Council, or whatever that title is, right? You go through all these changes to advance yourself in politics, to be something in New York. So why in the hell is the moderator going to ask a question like, "Hey, if you're elected, where do you want to go?" What does that get to do with anything, right? You ask Cuomo, you ask the head honcho of the city council, and why are you asking these people this question? I don't understand that. And see, that's one of the reasons why people don't trust the media. Okay? You talk about gotcha questions, right? Listen, if you're going to ask me a gotcha question, ask me a gotcha question about something I'm doing or I'm supposed to do. Why are you going to throw that out there? And unfortunately, with the exception of Mandami, what are the other 4 or 5 people say? "Oh, well, my first thing when I get elected, I'm going to Israel. I'm going to Tel Aviv. I'm going to Jerusalem." Well, wait a minute. See, now, in my little ghetto New York project peanut brain, I'm trying to figure out why in the hell you're going to go through all these damn changes, right? Trying to get support, walking around talking to people and everything to be mayor of New York City. So why in the name of the great white fleet are you going to ask a question like that? These people are going to all, and believe me, Cuomo, the leader of the New York City Council, the other people up there, they're busting their ass to become mayor of New York City. And you, the moderator, you know this. I mean, I know the guy that was asking the question, he is like a regular fixture in New York City media, politics, what have you. And I'm trying to figure out, well, why in the hell are you going to raise the question like the man or woman who's running, they want to be mayor of New York City. So why in the hell are you going to ask them? Well, if you are fortunate enough to become the mayor, well, what is that? I mean, why are you going? You want a ticket to someplace else? You work so hard to become mayor. You work so hard to become mayor of the joint. What the hell do you want to take a trip for? I don't get. I'm sorry. Okay. Excuse my working class mentality. But to me, it just seems that if I bust my ass to become mayor of New York City, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start. I don't care if you're left, right, Republican, Democrat, DSA, I don't give a crap, right? The goal, the objective is to become mayor of New York City. So why are you going to ask me if I'm fortunate enough, if the people of New York City respect what I'm saying and my ideas for the future of New York City, why the hell are you going to ask me where I'm going to go if I get elected? I'm sorry, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't figure that out. I really can't. And see, I'm going to tell you, this is where Mondami screwed up. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, this is where he screwed up. Now, don't worry because you Mondami supporters out there, don't worry because when I say he screwed up, I say he screwed up because he did and said the right thing. Right? All of a sudden, they stood up there and they said, "Well, I'm going to go to Israel." I think somebody said Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. I don't know, right? But when they come to Mondami, he says, and I, putting it in my own words, "Hey, I ain't going nowhere. If I'm fortunate enough that the people of New York believe me to be worthy enough to be their mayor, if I'm elected, I'm going to stay in New York. I'm going to try and fix New York." And the boy catches all kinds of hell for that. And I just don't, hmm, I I don't mean when I say boy, I'm over 65 now, okay? So, I'm an old geezer, right? Hey, look, if you ain't freaking 55, you're a boy or you're a girl. I don't care, right? But seriously, what in the hell was he supposed to say? What is the sense of getting elected to be mayor of New York City? And then you're going to talk about, I'm going to Israel. What? Like I say, call me an ignorant New York kid out of the projects, out of the ghetto, but to me, it don't make no damn sense. I'm sorry. And I think that not just talking about Mandami, but talking about our politics in general, we got some serious problems. And then you look at what's his name, Shapiro, I think, in Pennsylvania, the governor. Excuse me. Hmm. He's going to try to label Mandami as some kind of anti-Semite, or the of Pennsylvania is going to caution Mandami to caution his followers not to display anti-Semitism. Why is that? Is it because the man, I don't really know his religion, but people are assuming that he's like a Muslim. Well, number one, even an old slaveholder like Thomas Jefferson, when they wrote the damn Constitution, they made sure that there was no religious qualifications in terms of running for public office. Or have we forgotten that? That's number one. Number two, Mondami has wandered through the streets of New York and gone to synagogues, temples, etc., basically showing himself to Jewish New Yorkers, saying, "No, we're not going to, that anti-Semitic bullshit. We're not having that in this city." right? In New York City. Me myself personally, uh, and I'm not saying that I was 100% right, but I gave up a very promising career in the U.S. Navy because the unit that I was in was just rife with anti-Semitism, anti-Hispanic, and also anti-college educated women. And I just got sick of it, and I chose to go to war with that unit because I knew that because the way my enlistment was set up, I knew I wouldn't have to come back to Jacksonville, Florida, which is like one of the headquarters in Florida for the Nazi right wing. And if anybody wants to dispute that with me, I'll be more than happy to do so. I was there. I lived through it. Okay. Now, of course, in my particular squadron, they got rid of the people who publicly espoused those kind of feelings, but I was just tired. My wife was getting ready to have our son, and she was having a difficult pregnancy. Um, and I was able to, you know, go to the beginning part of the Gulf War and come home before a lot of other people did. And I knew I wouldn't have to come back to Jacksonville, Florida. And I was just tired because battling racism, ethnic hatred, believe me, it takes a hell of a lot out of it. And I was more concerned about my wife and, my soon to be delivered son. Now, I left active duty and I went into the reserve. Um, so I was still there for my country, but I don't know, it was a very rough time. So if anybody tries to put out that, oh well, Bob Gums is an anti-Semite, number one, I'm gonna probably kick you in the nuts. Okay, if I get the chance. I mean, I'm getting older. I'm not that young Navy kickboxer that I was, but I'm going to give you a run for your money, right? I think that one of the great scars on Western history is anti-Semitism. I prefer to see anti-Semites hung up by their feet and have their balls cut off in the middle of the town square. That's how I feel about anti-Semitism. But please don't ever tell me because like, I don't care for what the right wing parties in the Knesset in Israel are doing makes me an anti Semite. Because that means two things. Number one, you're a damn fool. And number two, you're a goddamn liar. So enough of that. But what's going on now is that they're trying to, brand Mandami as some kind of weird commie. See? And what they're doing is they're trying to depend upon the lack of education that we in America, unfortunately, have been subjected to. Okay? And uh, believe me, I believe in the Mandami campaign. I'm not going to say anything that would, hurt that campaign. But I'm not going to run away from the truth. And the truth is that Americans as a whole, we are the most undereducated people in the Western world. Okay? And what we have done, we have allowed a certain group of people to basically scare us with words, scare us so much that we wind up, in terms of politics, we wind up voting against ourselves, against our own best interest. And I believe that that's what they're trying to do with Mr. Mandani. Now, if you're going to ask me, do I think that every idea that Mandami has Is it perfect? I don't know. Will it work? I don't know. Most of his ideas that I've heard so far, to me, they damn sure seem to be worth a try. Okay? Because the truth of the matter, let me drink more of my Kool-Aid here. Running my mouth makes my throat dry. But if you're asking me, well, yo, Rob, you think that this whole idea about his transportation thing, where he wants to basically make transportation free or, very low price, um, is that a good idea? Could it work? I like it. To be honest about it, as a native, born and raised New Yorker, I kind of like it, because I think that it could help working class people in New York, number one, and I think it would be a boom for small business, quite frankly. I think anytime you make it easier for people to get from point A to point B, I think that's a good deal. I'm sorry, call me a knucklehead, but I think that put it this way, I think it's worth a try. Okay. The idea about the city having like food spots where people can get decent, clean, healthy food, right? Basically, you're talking about city government kind of being like bodegas, and real native New Yorkers, they know what I mean when I say bodegas, right? Mm. Uh, is that a good idea? I can see how that would help a lot of people because in many of these cities here in America, we have food deserts. You know, I don't think that it is good for any area or society. I don't think I don't think it makes sense to live in a place where it's easier to get a Big Mac than it is to get a salad, right? I don't think that's good, you know. I mean, I'm military. I did 26 years in the military, regular and reserve. And I know the problems that we have with recruitment, the military has with recruitment. Okay. I know that it's to the point where this is a national security issue. Okay. And I think that proper diet, it means a lot, especially when you're talking about what, you're 18 to like what, 27, 28-year old. Okay. I think anything that will alleviate that problem is a good deal, right? See, it's not the point that Mondani put something out there and you have all the naysayers, right, saying, "Oh, well, that's bullshit. That will never work." No, it's just like with FDR when he took over the reins in the White House at the midst of the Great Depression with his kitchen cabinet and his brain trust and what have you. They put out a lot of things. Some of the things that, they weren't they turned out to be not practical. They didn't work. But they were putting ideas out in the attempt to try and make things better. And see, that's why so many elderly people up to today, okay, even when they talk about, oh, them Democrats just want to spend money, but they always look kindly in their memories about FDR. There's nothing wrong with taking ideas and trying them and seeing if they work. What the hell is the harm? And I'm so tired of these billionaire, people. I mean, what the hell are what's your stake in this? Okay? The majority of New Yorkers are decent working class people. And if this man Mondami has any ideas that might make their quality of life a little bit better, why are you so terrified about giving his ideas a shot? It's just like, okay, I'm assuming that one of his ideas is that, all right, we're gonna hit the millionaires and billionaires for what, 1%, 2%. I mean, come on. And this is something that really bugs me about billionaires. You guys live here, right? You have the luscious life. You got the beautiful women, nice cars, right? God forbid you ever be caught in the subway. I mean, and when you go home, yeah, you got a home to go to, right? Well, which is wonderful. And see, at this point in time, nobody wants to take away what you got. But what in the hell is wrong with you folks basically trying to give the rest of the working class people in New York some breathing room? You know, no, nobody's saying, yeah, well, we're gonna tear down the czar, and what was that battleship in the Russian Revolution? What, the Potemkin? Nobody is trying to attack the winter powers. But I think it's time that we ask you to be decent. If the man says he wants to raise a 1% tax upon the wealthy, well, what the hell are you? Are you Americans, or are you just a part of this strange, nebulous, super wealthy group of people that you don't really owe any allegiance to any country? That the whole world is just about you. I mean, don't you have children? I mean, what? I mean, my God, all the beautiful women that you wealthy people hang out with, I'm sure there's some babies popping out somewhere. What about their future? What kind of future do you want these kids to have? Living behind gated walls, looking out at the masses of the rest of working class citizens, starving to death. I mean, if I was wealthy, I couldn't be healthy. I mean, I couldn't be happy in that kind of an environment. Okay, but forgive me, I'm stupid like that. I couldn't sit up in a fancy restaurant eating all kinds of marvelous gourmet food and watching the little kids with their faces pressed up against the window, hungry. I couldn't enjoy my life like that. And that's all Mondami is really trying to say, you know, that we have a society and that we live together and that we do have a responsibility. Hey, you so-called fundamentalist Christians, isn't that what they talk about in the Bible? Right? That we have a responsibility to each other, to help each other. Well, we're not asking wealthy people to get in bed with poor people. But what we're saying is, listen, um, wonderful. You inherited wealth. You might even have made your own wealth. But what about the rest of what about the rest of society? If you have somebody coming in the political arena that is saying, "Well, listen, I got an idea that will help the masses of people," why are you going to stomp on them? I I don't get that. I really don't. Like I say, I'm not the brightest bulb in the chandelier. Okay, but to me, it's just like with FDR. It's common sense. Oh, and let me veer off of Mondami and his campaign for a minute. What in the hell is wrong with elected Democrats? You have a little, mostly boy-headed, evil little man that is saying that he wants to roll through the cities of New York, of not just New York, but the cities of America, and basically snatch people up off the street. I'm going to say something. I hope that the Mondami campaign, because I'll tell you straight up, I got a whole bunch of issues to deal with, and Africa, their relationship with Europe and America, and blah blah blah. But I also see other things about America that I must speak on. And this business about was it ICE snatching people off the street, running around wearing their mask and what have you. Democrats, where are you? Is this the portrait that we want the world to see when we talk about America? And this business about snatching people in the courthouse who are trying to get their papers together, snatching children out of hospitals and out of schools. Is this the American way? Oh, and a message for you black folks out there, right? I know that a lot of black folks are walking around talking about, oh, well, them damn Latinos, they voted for Trump and they're getting what they deserve and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Latino leadership here in America, they screwed up. Ain't no two ways about that, right? What was it? 40% of Latino people that voted Republican? You screwed up. They screwed up. Ain't no two ways about that. And as you can see, looking on uh, uh, cable media, whatever you want to call it, they recognize that mistake. Okay, black folks, it is time to let that pass. Our Latino brothers and sisters, and I say brothers and sisters purposely, because in many cases, like myself, they are our brothers and sisters. And if you know anything about your own African history, you would know that. They made a bad boo boo. Remember, America is a racist society. That's how it started off. And I don't want to hear this bullshit about, oh, you call it a racist. Yes, I am calling it that because that's how it started. Okay? You cannot have chattel slavery in a place and don't think that it's going to affect everything in the damn country. That is not going to affect the country's history. Okay? I know you got some, I don't call them Uncle Toms, I call them Sambos. And if you ever sat down and read Uncle Tom's Cabin, you know why I say the term Uncle Tom is so passe. Okay? Sambo was the real son of a bitch, not Uncle Tom. But that's why I use the term Sambo. all right? Like that Sambo was senator from South Carolina, like that Sambo that's trying to run for governor of in Florida, okay? Those people are Sambos. And I would say to my white fellow citizens, don't trust a man that hates himself. Okay, that's a person that cannot be trusted, right? Um, and this is not to say that white America is our enemy, but what is that? Oh God, I can't think of that phrase. I'd rather have a strong enemy than a weak friend. And I think that this whole racial thing in America, it can be worked out. It's not hopeless, but it's going to require honesty. It's going to require people sitting down and talking to each other. It's going to require people learning the history of America. So when I say that, this business that this today Republican Party has about trying to pick up a few black tokens and putting them, when necessary, okay, out in the forefront, that's not good. It does not do anything to help white working class America. And I would say to white working class America, stop, take time to think and do a little research and stop voting against yourself. Okay? I and Manuel are not trying to take away your quality of life. The person who's trying to take away your quality of life is sitting in the White House, not me, not Manuel. And you need to understand that. And you need to understand why. What the Republican Party has deteriorated to over the last 15, 20 years, it's sad, it really is. I say this as the child of two black, rock ribbed Republicans, okay? One of whom ran as a Republican for the Assembly in New York State right out of home, okay? The Republican Party did not, how should I say, black Republicans did not run away from the Republican Party. The Republican Party ran away from black Americans, okay? We went from the party of Lincoln to the party of Lee Atwater, okay? And you need to look up look up the information about Lee Atwater. Now he did express regret as he was on his deathbed, but he did a lot of damage to the Republican Party, and I say to white America in general. Listen, this country was based upon slavery. Now I know you got a Department of Education, or should I say, had a Department of Education, because Trump and his minions are doing their best to totally destroy the Department of Ed. Basically trying to say that, oh, well, America was always a land of sugar and roses. Okay, that's no good, and that's not right. You can't raise children for the 1890s as you go into the 21st century. And that's what education under the Trump regime is all about. The whole thing is about going backwards. History, whether we like it or not, goes forward, which goes right back to the Mandami campaign. Because you have people, and I'm so sorry to see Cuomo, excuse me, to see the Cuomos basically taking money from the same people that supported Donald Trump. Okay, I've always felt that a lot of billionaires, not all of them, but a lot of them are very stupid people. If you want to try and have stability, if you want to protect what you have, then you treat working class people of all ethnic backgrounds and colors with some type of decent quality of life. And unfortunately, we see a lot of these billionaires doing the exact opposite. And then what really rocks me to the core, here in Africa, under the Trump regime, what they're trying to do, they want African leaders to basically bend and kiss the feet of Donald Trump and his minions. And see, the problem with what you have in America now is the fact that this is not the 1890s. Okay, people don't do that anymore. And you see that displayed by the Trump administration in Africa. You see with the problems that we have, the world is having with the Middle East and the Palestinian questions. You see the same type of mentality. People here in America who hate American Jews will bend over backwards professing their love for Israel. I guess you call them what? Christian nationalists. And that's something that's always freaked me out, you know. But that's what they're doing. They would be happy if we attacked Iran, and basically turned Gaza into some kind of hotel resort or something. And as an American, I have deep problems with that because my thing is, how in the hell you're going to support the right wing government of Israel with money, with weapons, right, to kill women and children in Gaza? And see, Americans, I would ask Americans, or I would tell Americans, it's time to start being very careful. Because if you got a group of people that are willing to commit genocide and slaughter people in Gaza, what what do you think they're going to do here in the United States? Excuse me, I say here. I'm in Uganda. But let me put it this way: what do you think they're going to do to people that they don't feel are part of their team in America? Okay, it's funny. Tyrants, dictators, they use genocide against the folks that they feel are inferior or they don't care for. You can support genocide in one part of the world. What makes you think that that won't turn around and boomerang upon you here in America? Black, white, red, yellow, brown doesn't make a difference. See, that's the thing about tyrants and dictators and fascists and what have you. So the next time you got a congressman or a senator talking about, well, we got to support Israel. Listen, I'm in America, okay? I have severe problems supporting a place that says that only people of one religion can have any say so in the government, right? I mean, that is my democratic DNA. And, I think that that's something that Americans need to need to wake up to. I'll talk about this in my other, my other videos, but that's something that really, really bothers me, and I think it should bother all decent thinking Americans. You know, what, 20,000, 30,000 women and children? I'm in the military. I understand that sometimes people have to die, but this is ridiculous. You're talking about something that happened, was it last year? What about all the years that the Palestinians have been oppressed? And I would tell whatever is left of Black American leadership, you need to get on the ball and deal with this issue about Gaza. Just like you need to get on the ball and deal with this issue of deportations. Yeah, right now we see a bunch of Latinos being dragged away and kicked out of the country. Trust me, the same people that hate Latino immigration, they have no use for black folks. Trust me. Go to the Pentagon and see how this regime, I won't call it an administration, see how this regime has torn down the pictures of black heroes who have given their blood for this country since the Revolutionary War. Think about that. Listen, my time is running out. My lady is pissed at me because I need to eat dinner. And you know how that can be. So I'll be back, right? But in the meantime, this is Bob Gums with the Concerned Forum. Take care. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Support Mondami and pray that we get our democracy back. Peace. Oh, and pick up some Billy Joel recordings. He'll do wonders for the mind. Believe me. Take care. God love you.